A vacation romance that became permanent. Emma never planned to fall in love. In fact, the entire purpose of her vacation was to forget about relationships altogether. At 30 years old, she had spent years building a successful career in Chicago. While her professional life flourished, her personal life had fallen apart. Just 6 months earlier, her engagement had ended unexpectedly. The heartbreak left her exhausted. When her best friend suggested taking a 2-week vacation to a beautiful coastal town in Italy, Emma immediately agreed. She needed sunshine. She needed peace. Most importantly, she needed a fresh start. What she didn't expect was that the trip would change her life forever. The moment Emma arrived in the small seaside town, she felt something different. The air smelled of salt and fresh bread. Colorful houses lined the narrow streets. Locals laughed in outdoor cafes while fishing boats rocked gently in the harbor. For the first time in months, she felt her shoulders relax. Everything seemed perfect. Until she got lost. On her second day, Emma wandered through winding streets while trying to find an old lighthouse recommended by a travel guide. After nearly an hour of walking, she realized she had absolutely no idea where she was. Her phone battery had died, the map was useless, and nobody nearby seemed to speak English. Frustrated, she sat on a stone bench overlooking the ocean.
Tourist trouble? Emma looked up. A man stood nearby holding a bicycle. He appeared to be around her age, with dark hair and a friendly smile. I guess it's obvious. He laughed. Only a little. His English was nearly perfect. Relieved, Emma smiled. Can you tell me how to get to the lighthouse? The stranger glanced toward the distant coastline. I can do better than that. Emma raised an eyebrow. How? I can take you there. Normally, she would have declined, but something about him felt trustworthy. My name is Luca, he said. Emma. And just like that, their story began. The ride to the lighthouse lasted only 15 minutes. Yet somehow, they talked the entire way. Travel, family, dreams, favorite books, favorite foods. By the time they arrived, conversation flowed as naturally as if they had known each other for years. The lighthouse stood proudly above the sea. Waves crashed against cliffs below. The view was breathtaking. But Emma found herself paying more attention to Luca than the scenery. As the sun began to set, he pointed toward the horizon. Beautiful, isn't it? Emma nodded. Very. Neither admitted they were looking at each other. Over the following days, they kept running into one another. At least, that's what they told themselves. They met at a bakery one morning, a market the next afternoon, a cafe later that week. Eventually, pretending became unnecessary.
Luca simply asked her to dinner. Emma said yes. That dinner lasted nearly 5 hours. Neither wanted the evening to end. They walked along the beach afterward, beneath a sky full of stars. The town lights shimmered across the water. For a moment, the world felt perfectly still. I should warn you, Emma said. What? This is supposed to be a vacation romance. Luca smiled. Supposed to be? You know, 2 weeks of adventure, a few good memories, and then reality. He considered her words carefully. And if reality has other plans? Emma laughed. Reality usually doesn't ask permission. But secretly, she hoped he might be right. As days passed, their connection deepened. Luca showed her hidden beaches that tourists never found. He introduced her to local traditions. His family welcomed her warmly. His grandmother insisted on feeding her enormous meals. His younger sister immediately treated Emma like an old friend. Everything felt effortless, natural, real. Yet, one unavoidable problem remained. Emma's return flight approached quickly. Every passing day brought them closer to goodbye. Neither wanted to discuss it. Until finally, they had no choice. 3 days before her departure, they sat together on a cliff overlooking the sea. The sunset painted the sky in shades of gold and orange. "It's almost time," Emma said quietly. Luca stared toward the horizon. "I know." The silence felt heavy. Neither knew what to say. How do you measure feelings that developed so quickly? How do you explain a connection that logic cannot understand? Finally, Luca spoke. "What happens when you leave?" Emma looked down. "I go home." "And us?" The question lingered between them. "I don't know." For the first time since meeting him, fear entered her heart. Not fear of commitment, fear of loss. Because losing Luca already felt painful. The remaining days passed too quickly. Before they knew it, Emma stood at the airport. People rushed around them. Announcements echoed through the terminal. Neither paid attention. Luca held her hand tightly. "I wish things were different." Emma nodded. "So do I." Then he surprised her. "Come back." She blinked. "What?" "Come back someday." His voice trembled slightly. "I'm not asking you to make promises. I'm not asking you to change your life." He squeezed her hand. "I'm only asking for another chance." Tears filled Emma's eyes. "I can do that." When her boarding call was announced, neither moved. Finally, Emma stepped forward and kissed him. A kiss filled with hope. A kiss filled with uncertainty. A kiss neither would ever forget. Then she walked away. The flight home felt endless. Returning to Chicago felt even harder. The city seemed louder than before. Colder. Busier. She missed the ocean. She missed the small town. Most of all, she missed Luca. At first, they spoke every day. Video calls, messages, photos, voice notes. What began as casual communication quickly became an essential part of their lives. Months passed. Their connection never faded. If anything, it grew stronger. They visited each other whenever possible. Luca traveled to Chicago during winter. Emma returned to Italy during spring. Every reunion felt magical. Every goodbye felt impossible. Friends warned them about long-distance relationships. Family members questioned their future. The challenges were real. Different countries, different careers, different lifestyles. Yet somehow, they kept choosing each other. Again and again. 2 years later, Emma sat in her office, staring at an email. A promotion. The opportunity she'd worked toward for years. Better salary, greater responsibility, everything she once wanted. Yet, instead of excitement, she felt uncertainty. Because accepting the position meant remaining in Chicago permanently. That evening, she called Luca. His face appeared on her screen. "You seem serious." Emma smiled nervously. "I received a promotion offer." "That's amazing." "It is." But Luca immediately noticed her hesitation. "What's wrong?" Emma took a deep breath. Then she told him everything. When she finished, silence filled the call. Finally, Luca spoke. "What do you want?" The question seemed simple, yet the answer changed everything. For years, Emma had focused on what she should do, not what she wanted. She wanted adventure. She wanted happiness. She wanted love. She wanted a life that felt meaningful.
And suddenly, the answer became clear. "I want us." Luca smiled, the biggest smile she'd ever seen. 6 months later, Emma returned to Italy once again. This time, it wasn't for a vacation. It wasn't temporary. It wasn't a visit. It was a new beginning. She had accepted a remote position with her company and moved overseas permanently. The transition wasn't always easy. There were cultural differences, language barriers, moments of homesickness, unexpected challenges. But through it all, Luca stood beside her, just as she stood beside him. Together, they built a life. Not a perfect life, a real one. And that made it even more beautiful. One evening, nearly a year after Emma moved to Italy,
Luca brought her back to the lighthouse where they first spent time together. The sunset looked exactly as it had years before. Waves crashed against the cliffs below. The sea stretched endlessly toward the horizon. "This place changed everything," Emma whispered. Luca nodded. It did. Then he reached into his pocket. Emma immediately recognized what was happening. Tears filled her eyes before he even spoke. "Emma," he said softly. She laughed through her tears. "You're making me cry already." "Good." They both laughed. Then Luca knelt on one knee. The world seemed to disappear around them. Only the two of them remained. "You came here looking for a vacation." Emma smiled. "And got lost." "Exactly." He grinned. "But sometimes getting lost is the best thing that can happen." He opened a small ring box. "Will you marry me?" Emma didn't hesitate. "Yes." The answer came instantly. Certain.
Confident. Forever. Years later, whenever people asked how they met, Emma would smile and tell the story. Most assumed vacation romances were temporary, a beautiful chapter that eventually ends. But hers was different. What began as a brief encounter in a seaside town became a lifetime together. Because sometimes the plane ticket home isn't the ending. Sometimes it's only the beginning. Sometimes a vacation changes more than your scenery. Sometimes it changes your future. And sometimes the person you meet while exploring the world becomes the person you choose to spend the rest of your life exploring it with. The end.